Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burgundy Zone. I am your host, Kyle, and I'm joined by my two co-hosts, Michael Hall
Yo.
and Michael Reed.
What's up?
And we are joined by a very special guest, Adam Aniba of the Band G Report. Thank you again for joining us, Adam.
Hey, thanks for having me on. It's always great chopping it up with you guys.
Adam,
Absolutely.
your arms are looking good right now. You're looking jacked
It's
there.
the view, man.
That's the view.
It's the view.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And speaking of a view, Antonio Gibson, there's not much to go over the Baltimore game in regards to feeling happy about. They lost by 14. But that being said, Antonio Gibson looked really, really good on Sunday. He had 13 carries, 46 yards, a 3.5-point average, 1 touchdown, and 4 receptions and 82 yards. You wrote up a little column on Antonio Gibson titled "Getting the Best Out of Antonio Gibson," Adam. So can you kind of go into what was the column about?
What I'm taking from it is a lot of people said that coming into the NFL, he'd be really raw. Not many people looked at him as a bell cow back, and that's exactly what I didn't look at him either. A prospect, we'd have to go way back for some of the younger guys out there, but Eric Metcalf is a guy that I used to watch growing up. Played for the Browns, a lot of teams. Finished his career with over 17,000 all-purpose yards. Gibson is a guy that I see doing that, and I think they took a step in the right direction. Only 4 targets, but he had 82 yards on a 20.5 yard per catch average. So I think that's going to show coaches get him the ball more, because right now, next to Terry McLaurin, he's your biggest playmaker. And I just feel that what I really touched on in the article is I have no problem with him being at the running back, because that actually provides, more deception for the defenses try to match up on. But what I want to see is a reversal of, some of these numbers. Of 13 runs for 46 yards, 4 receptions for 82 yards. Honestly, I wouldn't mind seeing the reverse, 5-6 carries a game, maybe divvied up between the other backs. I really think AP would have still been a better option to keep around here, because they don't have that guy. I think they have a bunch of guys that are more, suited for the passing game. In saying that, after seeing what Turner's done, and my article, I feel like it kind of touched on what I wanted to see. So I think we're starting to see them as utilize their backs in the receiving game a little more. McKissick needs to really get going as well. But really, what I think has to go on now is there has to be more of a dedication to the pass. Because this offensive line, this system right now as it stands, it's just not built for the run game. And that doesn't mean you stop running the ball. That just means you dedicate the scheme more to setting up the run through the pass. So, the ratio needs to be a little bit, backwards. Dwayne had a lot of passing attempts, mainly because there was a lot of catch up. I think a lot of people take the fluff numbers with a grain of salt, but what I see in the rebuilding years, the fluff numbers, it actually gives coaches more tape, more things to review and see what Haskins does well. I'd be absolutely shocked if we don't see them do a lot more up tempo, which I mentioned in my article. Utilizing Gibson a lot more in the receiving game, because what I said is it's great to have him coming out of the backfield, but if you're asking some of his offensive linemen to get in space for screens, bubbles, things like that, they're still not made for that right now. They're finding their identity. So the best way you're going to get him the ball is get him in the open field, 5-10 yards away from the line of scrimmage, not left to right. That's what he does well, and they showed it on that 40-yard. I think it was 40-yard reception that boosted his average. That if you give him the ball in the open field, his legs, it's just like Barkley from New York Giants. He's hard to take down on that initial contact. He was one of the best in college football at yards after contact. And I looked at him as a receiver, because as far as college went, it was reversed. It wasn't as many runs. It was a lot more reception. So, to not continue to sound so long-winded, I've been saying this, my contributor, Paul, he's been a big proponent of him pre-draft. We really studied him in AGG probably more than most prospects. And we felt that both of these guys can be utilized, immediately in the passing game. That AGG would take time, but Gibson would be someone that's a plug and play, because you just move him around, like I mentioned, Metcalf. So I think, in the long run, Turner, if he's going to have success, he's going to realize that using him as, their true go-to back is not the best way to utilize him. That's really what I focused is, get him in the receiving game to get the best out of him.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense, Adam. Let's go over the 31-17 loss to the Baltimore Ravens. You had already alluded to, Adam, Dwayne Haskins, 45 pass attempts on the day, 32 completions for 314 yards. We already talked about Antonio Gibson. I think it was a total team loss, in my opinion, because you look back at that special teams 4th down conversion that they pulled off. I mean, that was a great throw. There's not much you can do about it. But the fact is, there were plays in all 3 phases of the game that cost the Washington football team the game. So, Hall, what was your biggest takeaway out of that loss?
Pretty much what it's been for the first 3 weeks leading up to that game, that the defense will do enough most times throughout the game to keep us in the game, but the offense is still way behind and is not going to have enough firepower, I should say, to kind of put us over the top to kind of squeak those games out or something like that, or even keep it close as far as a game like Baltimore where you're facing a high-powered offensive team. So, that was my biggest takeaway, and obviously we're missing it was a huge miss for having an I-90 he's done for the season. I think that he would have had a great game against the inside of that line. Got a pretty good push on the pocket to kind of disrupt Lamar in the passing game a little bit. But as far as the run game goes and the run defense, I've been highly impressed. Like I said before, I think Lamar ended with 53 yards total rushing. So if you take into account of that 50-yard run that he had, they kind of held him in check running. So you want him to beat you in the passing game. So, my takeaway so far, like I said, is the defense has done enough to keep us in games and maybe win us a game or two here or there. And the offense is kind of still 2 to 3 steps behind as far as keeping us in games.
Absolutely. And my key takeaways before the game I had put out on Twitter, no big plays on defense, I wrote. No big plays. And they gave up 2 huge ones, the Marquise Brown and then the Lamar Jackson run. And a lot of credit to you, Hall, because we had talked about on the reaction pod that if you take away that 50-yard run from Lamar Jackson, this defensive unit held the Ravens to with under 100 rushing yards total as a group. So that is a great feat for this team. That they were up big. So what are they going to do? They're going to run the ball. Now, on this team, that's actually a very good feat. What about you, Reed? What was your biggest takeaway from the loss?
Obviously, I mean, I don't think anybody really expected us to go in there and win this game. I mean, we talked about it on the pod beforehand. Like Hall said, I'm very impressed with our run defense. Last year at Baltimore, I know that this offense hasn't really looked the same so far in the short season that we've had, but last season they were historically the best rushing team in NFL history. So for them to come in there and hold them like that, I think that was very impressive. Like Hall said, our defense does enough. It's not a great defense by any means. It's not going to take over a game. It's not going to dominate, but they can put you into some positions if your offense could just be a little bit better and take advantage of those positions. Same thing that we've said over the last few weeks. Like, you just keep seeing it time and time again, and it's getting frustrating. But again, I think not having an off season is really affecting not only Scott Turner, or not only Dwayne Haskins, but also Scott Turner. He's got to get used to some of these got to get used to the play calling, some of these route concepts. At least from what I've been seeing all over Twitter, it's just like he's having some of these receivers stacked together, and it's not creating throwing lanes for Dwayne Haskins, and it's getting a little bit frustrating, but at the same time, we're not that good of a team right now. Like, we have some big play pieces and we could be decent, but it's going to take some time. And I just think I got to keep telling myself that to keep me off the ledge.
Yeah, look, I keep getting reminded, this offense reminds me of the Jason Campbell days where you have a all right quarterback, but the 3rd down conversions are not happening. At one point in the first half, they were 2 for 8. This cannot continue to happen for the Washington football team. They cannot keep going down multiple scores in these games. This offense is not built to be pass heavy. They need the run to balance out the play action. That's how they're going to hit downfield. They cannot continue to not sustain drives early in games because they're not scoring points, and other teams are. The one thing we heard about Jack Del Rio from a friend of Reed, who's a Jacksonville fan, Jack Del Rio's defenses generally start slow, they give up points, and then they adjust in the second half and shut out the offense. If that's going to happen, this offense needs to attack early to be able to stay in that game, to be perfectly honest with you. Adam, what about you? What was your biggest takeaway from the game?
I'll just give you the couple of notes that I have. What I see in this back end is I see a defense right now that, granted, they gave up that big play to Jackson, but they're not doing the same miscues, miscommunications that we were seeing in years past. So
That's a good
like
point.
that. But the whole topic of Apke, I think it's not going to go away, and he'll get a tip ball here and there because he's in the right place at the right time. But we have a guy right now, this is one of my biggest takeaways, with so much speed, but he's playing read and react defense. So right now, I think he's really hurting us. Landon Collins is getting a lot of slack, but his partner right next to him is not doing him any favors. And I think what we should see, and hopefully what we're going to see, is a lot more Cameron Curl, a lot more Fuller being incorporated into the safeties, because I think that's something they wanted to do. To be honest with you, I did hear rumblings about this early on when training camp, and then everything happened with Fuller, because they really liked what they saw in Curl. And like I admitted on other shows I went on, I missed on Curl. I really did not watch much film on him. Even after I did, I still didn't have much to take away. But I think that sometimes these guys come into the NFL and they're gamers and they're better what they show on the next level as far as playing in deep coverage. So one of my takeaways is if they have the personnel to right now, they can fix that. The linebackers are really giving up a lot of plays. I think that Bostic surprising me, because I thought, Sean Deion Hamilton was a guy I really thought was going to do big things, and he's been mediocre at best. Bostic's been one of the most impressive. And KPH is just, he's a guy. So right now that's a big issue for us. So I have an article actually coming out about the NFC East. It's just so bad right now. I don't think, just because they're in a rebuilding phase right now, I don't think that making subtle moves like, maybe down the line, we're looking at a linebacker, a receiver, we're talking about day 3 picks, we're not talking about trading anything, ridiculous here. But I think that these are things that we could see going on. If we go through this whole season, they really make no legit moves, they stick with the guys they have, I don't agree with that, because I think that they can have a successful rebuild by pulling what they have and, kicking to the curb what's not working. Cam Sims is a guy that for years I really was pounding the table for. I liked. I think we've seen a ceiling. I think that they need more. A guy that I'll be writing about soon is Jeff Badet. I'm hoping that they keep him on the practice squad. He had a little stint in the XFL. He's had a few preseasons with Vikings, but this is a guy coming out of OSU in Kentucky. 4.29 unofficial speed is pro day. Turner right now doesn't need all-star receivers. He needs guys that are quick. And, I'll just wrap it up with the main things I take away from that game is throw the slant, throw the slant, throw the slant.
Yep.
Because that's what they can do. Dwayne Haskins right now, don't know what it is. If you're going to say the line, if you're saying the reads, whatever it is, we're not on the field. We can only see what's on tape. But the slants are working. Get him out of the pocket is working. Hurry up, tempo is working. So I hope we're going to see that translate. If we can take that into the Rams and beat them, I'll take this loss in Baltimore as a great loss, which is, it's crazy to say, but I think if they can take those mistakes and come out against the Rams, I see no reason to, because I think you can isolate part of their defense with their star corner, with their star defensive tackle. You can isolate those guys. Yeah. Right now, the Rams don't impress me. So I think that taken away from that game is there's things to gain. Walking away with Gibson and McLaurin days, it might be fluff numbers, but these are guys that played against a legit defense, regardless if they were sitting in cover 3, cloud, whatever. We've got some playmakers, so I think you just have to take what's working and hopefully apply it, going forward.
Absolutely. Let's talk about a topic of discussion that a lot of people over the past 2 days have had an opinion on. So let's put on our head coaching hats, fellas here. The 4th and goal. Haskins takes a very bad sack. I think we can all say that was a bad sack. It's a deep 4th down. It's long 4th down, and Rivera calls Haskins into the game. Haskins throws a check down. I know, obviously, he was the only guy open. The Ravens were in deep coverage. And Ron Rivera kind of looked at that and said it was a test. He said that in his press conference. It was a test. And Dwayne said, I hope I passed it. Hall, let's go to you. Do you think, what was your opinion of that play? If you could say somebody was at fault, would it be Rivera? Is it Scott Turner's play calling? Or is it Haskins' execution?
Definitely I would go with Haskins' execution. I believe that obviously they were dropping, I think it was 6 or 7 defenders into coverage. But at a time like that, when it's 4th and goal, you need to at least get it somewhere near the end zone, not 7 to 8 yards away from the end zone. Obviously, like you said, he was the only person open, and I think he was kind of just taking it as, let's just push them, kind of pin them back as far as we can kind of thing. But in that type of situation, I would like to see him kind of, move in the pocket, maybe get outside the pocket, run around, move around, make a little bit more time for someone like Terry or to get open and uncover off of a cornerback, because as we all know in the NFL, you can only give a receiver maybe 3 to 4 seconds at max. but after that, it's kind of every man for himself. So yeah, I definitely would put that on Dwayne. I don't put Ron at fault for giving the test. I put it on Dwayne for failing the test.
Look, I'm not gonna agree with you just yet, but I will say it's very minute. It's very stupid. But the one thing that I had a problem with on that 4th and goal was after that 3rd down, Dwayne Haskins is running off the field. And now most of you are going to say, and? Well, Ron Rivera had to tell Dwayne to go back in there. And my issue is, if you're a competitor, if you're a quarterback, if you're trying to win over a team, if you're trying to build momentum with a team like this, you want that ball. You say, no, I'm staying in here. I want to score this. I'm going to find a way to get it done. I don't agree with the play call. I think the play call was a bad play call. I will say that, and to Haskins' credit. But to Hull's point, there are things in the red zone a quarterback can do to help the offense. That is scramble the pocket, extend the play, move guys, pump fakes, just get guys out of position to create enough space. And that's what I thought Ron Rivera was going for with this test, because it almost seemed like Dwayne just wanted to get it over with. He just wanted to be done with it. And that's what I thought pissed off Ron Rivera, because he wasn't looking at it like this was a challenge and that's something that I want to get done. It was almost like, okay, I'll just dump it out and get out of here. And that's how my mindset was. What about you, Reed?
Yeah, I agree with both of you guys. I think that I like what Rivera was doing. He wanted to see what he had, and I completely agree with you, Kyle. I noticed that too. You do not want your quarterback running off the field just ready to give up, throw his hands up in the air and be like, all right, let's take a field goal. Like, you want your quarterback in that situation to say, all right, we're going to get some points here. I'm going to do whatever it takes. And in that situation, I was texting my brother and my dad, and automatically I was just like, why don't you throw it into the end zone? At least give your guys a chance, even if it's towards the back of the end zone, whatever you got to do. Give somebody a chance to do something. I guess I understand his mindset where, like, he must be very fragile in the sense that last week 2 weeks ago really messed with him against the Browns when he threw all those picks, because all we saw all game was dump offs from Dwayne. And he didn't take any risks at all. He needs to kind of play somewhere in the middle.
Well, he did throw that deep ball to Terry. I'll give him that.
Well, yeah, but that was in garbage time. That's at the end of the game.
Right,
I'm talking about earlier on. But it was just I like Rivera there saying, no, we're gonna go for this. This is the test. And then I didn't like Scott Turner's play call. I didn't like the way that Dwayne handled that situation. Like you guys said, he could have moved around a little bit more. He could have made something happen, at least throw it in the end zone. So yeah, I just think that was I think that Dwayne failed that test.
Yeah, and to your point, that's like kind of my thing. And a lot of credit to Grant, who I heard on 106.7 say, if you have to ask if you passed the test, you failed miserably. You failed miserably, and that's exactly my kind of mindset with it. Is if you're that oblivious, there's a problem here, in my opinion. Adam, what about you? How did you feel about that fourth and goal play?
I don't understand why Rivera would get any slack. You know, they call him Riverboat for a reason, and the way everything's playing out, why wouldn't they go for it? So don't tell me that it was a one read and everybody else was covered. It was either in zone or that underneath. I blame Turner too. I think I put it more around, probably 60-40 on Haskins, because like you said, Haskins has got to run around and create something. He takes a sack. He's done it before, but by running around, someone's going to get held. Something's going to get happen. It might get called on Washington, but honestly, in those situations, DBs get overzealous in the end zone and something happens. I'll agree exactly what you just said. He looked like he wanted to get off the field. It was disappointing. There's just some mannerisms right now. And I said, like everyone, I want to see the film. I want to see a whole season if possible. Yeah. But right now, I'm not seeing that he can't bounce back from the game. If you look in the box score, you'll say, oh, well, no interceptions, 300 plus yards. That's a bounce back game. It wasn't. There was some good things done in garbage time that will help this team going forward. But by throwing no picks, he's not going forward right now. He's a stalemate.
Let's keep it there then, because I had another question for you, Adam. Let's keep it with you. My question was, do you think Dwayne Haskins did enough to convince the coaching staff that he progressed against the Ravens?
I think they might say it publicly, but I think, just like I said, if right now it's just that medium, he needs to have that game. If he doesn't come out and have that, it doesn't have to be 300 yards. If he doesn't come out and have that 210-yard passing game, 2 touchdowns, run for 25 and a score, he's not going to keep this job. That's what they're looking for. And a lot of people thought that when Cam Newton was available, that would be a good idea. And I said it then, I'll say it now. He's looked good in New England, but he can look, different in situations. And his Issue of staying healthy is why I thought it was a good move not to go there, because it's a safety blanket. And you're sending a message that Dwayne to Haskins that it's a short leash. But I think with Allen behind him, he had to know this is his team and he has a chance to seize it. Right now, he's not. He's had multiple plays where you can say that we can move the pocket. There's things that Turner can do, and I agree. But there's a hell of a lot of things a quarterback can do. If he doesn't like to play, if this guy is scared and getting under the skin of Ron Rivera, it's just not going to work. Like you said, you got to have a player that doesn't want to come off the field. If he doesn't like what he's seeing, he's going to change it. He's going to do something. I'm just not seeing that. Every time I see him at the line, it seems so robotic. I don't see any real evolution in his progressions. He's got a great arm, and when you have a great arm and decent accuracy, you're going to make some plays. But when he's missing these 5-10 yard passes, to me, that's where it's concerning. I saw Brett Favre do that earlier, but he got a hold out with the quickness. He didn't take any heat off the ball. He just put more touch on it. Everyone said, when you call Brett Favre's ball, you'll break your fingers, but it's going to be right in your hand. So if you drop it, it's on you. He's just throwing it high, to a 6'5" tight end. He's throwing it, 2 feet over his head. Right now, it's either nerves or he just doesn't have it. And I think the bye week is something that we need to look at, because I don't think it's really going to happen before then. I think with the division games coming up, they're going to want to see what he can do in the division. So do I. So I think it would be ridiculous. But if you're talking about he doesn't win a game from now to the bye week, he's out. That's what it'll take. But if he can win a game or two, look decent, I think he'll get most of the season.
What about you, Hall? Do you think that Dwayne Haskins did enough to progress by going 32 of 45 for 314 yards?
Not at all, to be honest, because it's pretty much a lot of the same that we've seen from the first couple of weeks, where you're getting pretty much empty calories, I call them, where you're just getting a lot of garbage time points. I mean, again, that deep ball to Terry was good and everything, but where was that at?
It was beautiful, but it was.
Where was that at in the first or second, even the third quarter? And again, to your point, where on the 4th and goal play, it was kind of like he was just in rhythm, just threw the check down. What did I do wrong? I was in rhythm. I made the right play, but it's like you're not thinking about situational football at that point.
At all,
I think that was that was Ron's biggest thing, where he was trying to see where his situational football mind was at, and right now it's clearly at a really, really low IQ. With that being said, I agree with Adam where they're going to give him these next 3 division games coming up, because we have, in the next 4 weeks, we have the Rams, Giants twice, and the Cowboys. So clearly the Giants are at the bottom of the league as far as talent-wise, as far as play-wise, and I would even say as far as coaching-wise. So if he can't pull off at least one of those 2 games, because it is a division game, everyone knows division games are kind of 50-50. So if he can't pull off one of those 2 games and look good in at least 2 out of the 3 games in the division, including the Cowboys game, I think that depending on how the record looks in the division, which will probably still be below 500 on every single team, I think that they might make the switch to kind of salvage the rest of the season, see if Kyle Allen can maybe come in, get a little spark out of the offense, see if he can run the offense more efficiently. And, so I'd give it him the next 3 to 4 weeks to kind of see if he has it. We were talking before. I was giving this first 4 weeks kind of like a preseason kind of feel, where get acclimated to the offense, kind of get into a rhythm, blah, blah, blah. Well, that time is up now, so it's time to show and prove.
Yeah, and look, do I think that he showed enough to progress? No, because, look, I love the completion percentage. I love the yardage. I get it, but it's almost like the offense was generated from the ground up. They were throwing it short, and it's not like when we say checkdowns like Alex Smith, they're running a normal pass play, but what Alex will do is he'll sit down and hit the check down that'll get you 3 to 4 yards.
Right.
What's happening with the offense is they're hitting those, but it's like the whole play is generated for that check down, which makes it a short yardage play, which ends up leading you to 3rd and 8. And that's where it's kind of it sucks, because yes, Dwayne, you're hitting your check down, but like if the whole play is designed for that, that's an issue, because you're going to basically tell defenses that all you have to do is stay close to the line of scrimmage. That's it. Right. Just stay close to the line of scrimmage, and you'll stop 80% of the drives.
Crazy stat that I saw today on Twitter. I forget who posted it, but if you go back and look at Dwayne's college stats and everything like that, he had the highest percentage of screen passes and kind of at the line of scrimmage or behind the line of scrimmage plays at Ohio State last year.
Right.
So that does not bode well as far as him pushing the ball down the field. And I don't know if maybe that's why Scott Turner hasn't really been calling the deep shots like that. I don't know if it's the offensive line play. It's kind of not giving him a lot of time, even though, like we've been saying, you can kind of get him outside the pocket, move the pocket a little bit to generate some of those deep passes. But yeah, this short game stuff is kind of it's kind of getting annoying. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, look, it's very annoying. Sorry, Reed. Sorry to cut you off. I know you're next. I promise.
No, it's good, Kyle.
No, but one thing at the end of the first half, Dwayne pulled his own little Kirk Cousins and almost gave up a field goal opportunity by not calling a timeout.
Yeah,
and it goes
we'll
into
get to-
Ron's point about the situational awareness, just
Right.
knowing what's going on, because it sucks to say, but it almost seems like, I know it seems like we're piling on Dwayne, but it almost seems like, you know, the moment is too big, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
You know, it's like
Yeah.
he's not bigger than the moment. It's like almost like there's too much going on. I understand he's young and he's getting acclimated to the NFL, but when you want somebody leading your team to wins, that's generally not somebody that does it.
Right. Yeah, and like you were saying, the short game, when your offense is revolving around these quick dump off passes and his quick check downs after he goes through his first read and sees it's not open, then that's a bit of an issue. Dwayne Haskins only threw 8 passes further than 10 yards down the field. It's something like he had a 4.7 yards per throw, something like that. Like that can't happen. And did he necessarily progress? No. I mean, yeah, you're right. He completed over 70% of his passes or 70% exactly for over 300 yards. So that looks good. But if you really look at the game as a whole, like there was a lot of situations out there that he left on the field that he just didn't take advantage of, that he didn't make the right call for. And he's not looking like an NFL quarterback right now. He's looking like somebody who's going in there and is just playing scared. Like he's letting the media almost, it seems like, get too much in his head and the fans. Because last week it was all, Dwayne, you got to be more careful with the ball. What are you doing? This week it was like, you're being way too fucking careful with the ball, man. Take some chances. Like he needs to find somewhere in the middle and hopefully get acclimated. But yeah, I think he's got 4 more games at the most to kind of prove where he's at. And if he doesn't take advantage of it, then I think unfortunately Ron kind of owes it to the team to give it to somebody like Kyle Allen and see what they can do.
Yeah, and look, I hate to bring this up. I hate to be a spoiler, but look, there's a big issue here, in that I read a article today by Dan Steinberg of the Washington Post, and it talked about the other quarterbacks that have been analytically going back to like very well done, who he meshes up with. And it was like J.P. Lossman, it was E.J. Manuel, what's the dude from Oakland? Jamarcus
Russell.
Jamarcus Russell was on there. So it's like you kind of can see that, like, yeah, it maybe is the weapons, but maybe everyone is starting to realize maybe it's.
I also saw that the offensive line, week 1, PFF gave the offensive line's pass blocking grade like a 30.
And now it's 70.
It's been 70 and up each week. I know PFF.
every week,
Yeah, but they've been a lot better. So that's not necessarily on them. I know we don't have many weapons outside of McLaurin, but Dwayne's just got to be better. I mean, if you look at some of these quarterbacks, I mean, the good quarterbacks, some of them don't need weapons. They don't need offensive lines. They don't need weapons. They just go out there and they make plays with who they have. I know I don't want to put this on Dwayne, but look at who Aaron Rodgers played with last night.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, obviously Dwayne's not Aaron Rodgers, but I mean, come on, man. You got to make something. These are still NFL players. Like AGG has mad potential. He hasn't been on the field much, but Jarius Wright, he's getting on the field. That guy could make some plays if you guys could get him the ball, figure out a way to get him the ball. So I don't know. Dwayne's doing something wrong, and this isn't going to last long if he keeps playing like this.
Right. And so, Adam, let's keep it with you. Let's go with you. Let's just say that Ron does pull the plug. I don't believe by any stretch that Dwayne should be plugged right now. I think he should continue being the starter and continue progressing to see if there is lightning in the bottle. But let's just hypothetically, let's just say that Ron does pull the plug. When do you think that would be? During the season? After the season?
I think it's going to be after the bye week. Like I said, if this continues the way it is, I wouldn't even call the last game managing the game. If you look at those stats, it was just they were behind. He put up some numbers at the end and really, made it look a little better than it is. But he really, besides the McLaurin play, there was no impact plays. Everything was created by yards after the catch. I was glad you mentioned the Ohio State situation. I think it was numbers like 75% of his yards were yards after the catch with Campbell and there are other guys. McLaurin wasn't on the stat sheet like the other guys for one main reason, because he was the best blocker on the team. And I'm talking about even offensive linemen. Everybody I evaluated, he had the highest blocking rate of anyone I saw on that team that year. So I think we got real lucky with that pick. But now if we have a quarterback that's, he's just situational football, you guys hit it on the nose. That's the problem. If you come down and you're seeing that clock tick down, he just let it tick. And I didn't even see if he looked to the sideline. I don't think he knew what was going on. And I hate to say it, because it has nothing to do with, where they came out in their evaluation. But Jamarcus Russell just keeps coming back into mind. Strong arm, that those same tales about him throwing from the 50-yard line on his knees. I interviewed his friend. That's what he said to me, Scott Burrell, when he recruited him. He's actually going to Maryland, was actually about to be his top choice, is what everybody knew that was following him at the time. And Scott Burrell, he became friends with, is one of the main reasons he went to Ohio State. And he beat out Burrow, and there was a big storyline about that back then. But Burrow, that guy did not have a game back then. He wasn't filled out. He had potential.
He was injured. He wasn't only playing football either, right?
He injured later on. He actually, the competition, the narrative was false because the competition was over by the time he hurt his hand.
Okay.
Dwayne Haskins was already, named, and what they said was, well, he would have won if his hand, but no, that came after.
Right.
But the thing is, Dwayne Haskins physically, he was way more dominant, and I think that's what stood out to the coaches, because everyone I talked to at Ohio State said Burrow didn't have much of a chance because they weren't looking to have a great story. They were looking to Dwayne Haskins was a higher rated recruit. So, but we can go back to that. But the thing is, he only had 1 year of college ball. He's had limited time in the NFL, and the question is, how mentally strong is he? And I'll be honest with you, people I've talked to have questioned that, and I don't think that it's something he can't overcome. But the Jamarcus Russell's comparisons are going to keep coming because he's taking sacks that he doesn't have to. And right now, this is his second year. He doesn't have a full season on his belt. If we see him continue to take these sacks week in and week out, that's showing no growth, no idea about situational football. And they're going to have to make a change. And it's not only going to be for the sake of winning. It's for the sake of seeing what they have at other positions. Because if he's going to continue to get sacked, if he's continuing on his back, fumbling, whatever, they're not going to see what they have in other positions. So when you bring in Kyle Allen, you have to know what you have. I was a proponent to bring him in. They used a fifth, a little high for me. I I thought it was about right. But getting a competent backup is not easy. This guy is Colt McCoy. It's early on, but without the potential, injury history. And I think that he can win you a couple games and manage, but you're going to deal with his interceptions. He had a ton of interceptions in Carolina, and that's what he's going to do. He's not going to manage the game. He's going to try to go out and win it. Right now, I hate to say it, that's the difference between him and Haskins. So if you make that change, it's over. You can't go back.
Yeah, listen to this quote from Dan Steinberg in the Washington Post. Haskins is a league average passer on throws within 15 yards of the line of scrimmage. But once he ventures past that, his accuracy suffers. He's 5 for 23, 22% on throws traveling 15 or more yards in the air. This in a league that averages 48% completions on such attempts. That is staggering. That being said, sorry, I just read that and I wanted to bring that up. Hall, when do you think that plug will be pulled, if it is?
Yeah, I'm going to kind of go with Adam. These next 4 games, the bye week, these next 4 games, these next 4 weeks with the 3 division games coming up. I know a lot of people pretty much have Dallas chalked up as an L just because of the high-powered offense. But people got to forget, that could be a coming-out party for Dwayne because that defense is horrible. So that'll be another telltale sign of, or you're playing a bad defense. Can you at least put up couple touchdowns? Can you put up some pretty decent numbers? Again, with the Giants defense, pretty bad defense. Can you put up a couple touchdowns? Can you put us in position to win instead of just not losing us the game and not really doing anything to win us the game? So I definitely think it's the next 4 weeks. And like I said before, kind of depending on what the status of the whole division is, it might get an extra week past that. But I think that the division might still be in sight, and he's going to want to see, hey, maybe we can take this and sneak into the playoffs.
What about you, Ray? Do you agree with them?
Yeah, 100%. I think he's got it kind of through the bye the next 4 games or so. And then after that, if he doesn't show improvement in multiple areas, I think that it's going to be, sorry, man.
Yeah, I think that what Ron Rivera is doing is showing tough love when going into that game, and I think that he was very let down. I don't think he's going to pull the plug this season, to be honest. I think once he starts going against inferior competition, you're going to see his play start to pick up. They're going to gain momentum. They're going to look better. But I think in the offseason, I think that's where the best bet is going to be. I just don't see Ron Rivera lighting flame to Dwayne Haskins in midseason. You know, as much I've said this before, I don't think it's the end all be all if Haskins gets benched, by the way. You know, this guy is on a rookie deal and with a 5th-year option for very, very cheap with Alex Smith on the roster with a huge cap number. You don't want to put a lot of money into that position already. It would make sense for them just to bench him and to see where he progresses. But I just don't think it happens this season. Okay, well, let's go down a little bit of a road here. Mohamed Sanu was released earlier today by the 49ers. He had a brief stint with them. He was previously with the New England Patriots for a brief time. Wasn't used very much, but after being let go by the Falcons, being traded to New England. Let me ask you guys. Reed, let's go to you first. Do you think the Washington football team should sign Sanu?
Yeah, I'd definitely be okay with that. I mean, obviously, Mohamed Sanu's a proven player in this league. He's solid. He's very solid. Is he past his prime? Yeah, more than likely. He's got a good relationship with Dwayne, though. I know that they go back. But at the same time, I do kind of want to see what these young guys like AGG and Jarius Wright have. So I'm a little bit conflicted with it. But so far, nothing that we have done has really worked on the offensive side of the ball. So maybe getting somebody who's just a fundamentally smart wide receiver who's a veteran to go out there opposite McLaurin eventually, maybe that could end up working out. I'd be okay with it.
What about you, Hall?
If they did it, I wouldn't be like mad. But at the same time, I'm kind of the mindset of, yeah, they didn't really use him a lot in San Francisco. He went back. He was got traded to New England last season. He was kind of not really used there. But my thing is, New England's receivers don't really run routes like past 10, maybe 12 yards. So if you're not really creating separation, if you're not really creating separation in that offense, you're going to come here and do what? You're not really going to create separation. So I'm kind of the mindset that you're just a little bit faster, maybe a Dontrell Inman. So it's kind of, we already have that guy in Dontrell Inman here now. Like Reed said, I'd rather kind of see the AGGs of the world, the Jarius Wrights of the world, just kind of see what the young guys have, and if we need to maybe keep them around. Well, obviously AGG is going to be around going forward, but maybe someone like Jarius Wright could maybe turn into a Steven Sims type player and just burst onto the scene. So with that being said, if they did it, I wouldn't be mad, but he's kind of Dontrell Inman 2.0 to me.
I disagree. I think the Washington football team should pull the trigger on this right away. Because look at this season. Look how many injuries have gone around the NFL. The one position where the Washington football team is talent depleted and don't have much depth, it's the wide receiver position. They were very adamant in public about saying they were looking for a vet wide receiver. They went heavy after Amari Cooper. They went and signed Latimer. He went and got himself locked up. They then had to go and get Inman. I think if Sanu was available at that time, they would have gone and got Sanu. In my opinion, his career year in passing yards was in 2018 with the Atlanta Falcons. Once he goes to New England, that's when everything stops. Because of the passing game, because of that passing attack. I don't think it's him not Bill Belichick not getting the most out of Mohamed Sanu. I think it's Josh McDaniels and getting along with Josh, because Mohamed Sanu does not fit that system, in my opinion. He doesn't fit Kyle Shanahan's system, in my opinion. What he fits is a Scott Turner type of offense. I think he could fit right in. He could bring a vet presence, and he's already worked out with Dwayne. They already have a relationship. I think that would be a good plug-in for the Washington football team to bring depth at a bad position. What about you, Adam?
You just hit on it exactly. Right now, if you're going to do it for any reason, it's the connection with Dwayne Haskins. And if that ends up just being a signing that's going to maybe get him a little more comfortable, maybe add an extra weapon. He's not going to come in here and really put up any kind of numbers that are going to make dramatic impact. But like you said, it's not like you bring him on and none of the young guys get a chance. Right now, we've seen what Cam Sims can do. I'll bring his name up again. I think that he's the easy push-off right now out of everyone on the roster. So you bring aboard Sanu. That's no commitment that you're putting him at wide receiver too. He's got to come in and grab it. But I think what you get in Sanu is, if he's willing to play whatever, and I'm sure he will, considering he's bounced around, we need help at punt return, kick return. We haven't solidified that. I like what Wright can do. I like what he did at Temple. But I kind of want to see what he can do on offense right now. So I think if you have Sanu, you bring him, he's day one plug and play in that, and see what he can do in the offense. Because, like I said, slants is what works. Sanu is the kind of guy that's going to come and, be able to give you that. He's not going to give you the go routes, the 50-50 balls, but that's what AGG is. And once they can get this offensive going, that's where he'll be a factor. Right now, you need these, quick twitch receivers that are going to, get those catches over the middle and, hopefully get some yak. But I say, why not? Because it's not going to be expensive. Right now, I think, what is it, close to 30-something million. At this point, 5 games in, I can't see him sign him for any more than $2 million.
Yeah, he'd be very, very cheap because
Yeah,
nobody's out there looking for him.
No.
I think that he could help this team, to be perfectly honest with you. Anybody have any comments on Mohamed Sanu before we head off?
No, I was going to have one rebuttal where he said that this kind of offense kind of suits him, this fits him, the quick game and the slant game. Well, that's kind of what they do in New England, and they didn't really fit there. So that would be the only kind of rebuttal where,
Yeah, that's a good point. But that being like Chad Ochocinco went to New England didn't translate. The only person that did that was a vet wide receiver. You could be perfectly honest was Randy Moss, and he's a Hall of Famer. It's hard to be able to compare, but that's a good point, Hall. I'm right there with you. Do I think that he's a lot better than Inman? No, but do I think he's an upgrade? I really and truly.
And I will definitely agree with you there, where he's going to be really, really cheap. So if you're going to get a veteran guy that's really, really cheap to come in and kind of contribute, maybe 20 catches maximum at the end of the season, I will take that because, again, Inman's kind of just a jag, just an average guy.
Yeah.
Right.
So Mohamed Sanu would be a little bit of upgrade. So I will give you that.
All right. And so the Colonel, father-in-law, gave us a topic to talk about tonight, and it's actually a really good one because it's hard to be able to gauge how good this defense is right now, given the way the offense has looked. So if we could, let's grade. I will go to you first, Adam. If you could give a grade for the defense so far, what would it be?
Right now, I'm around a C, and I think, but most of that has to do with the play in the back end. Apke continues to bring this defense down, and I think if you even have just some competent play back there, we'll make you'd see a couple more interceptions, even if it's not by him, just by his presence. Apke is a guy that I think teams are targeting. They know he's out of position. He's got speed, but it doesn't translate into onto the field, in my opinion. I just haven't seen it. He continues to take bad angles. And the injuries right now, even though it's they definitely got lucky with the Chase Young. We could see him next week. Or my opinion is I think he's better off in another week. I'd like to see him against the run against the NFC East. But the defensive line right now, I have a lot of hope because Settle is a guy I love coming in, and I think they definitely have a drop off without Ioannidis. But what we get in Settle is a different kind of player. I think we get a player that's probably maybe better against the run, a player that I think can take on double teams. Maybe not better than Ioannidis, but I've constantly seen him pushing back, and rarely do I see him going back. So I'll stick with a C right now because again, everything behind the defensive line has just been too shaky. That defensive line for me, I still have them as, a B plus, but that back end right now, it's bringing the overall to a C right now. They need to make some moves, shuffle up the lineup. Holcomb is a guy I had high hopes for, and I just don't know if, we're going to see him shortly get moved to IR because it doesn't sound like he's coming back.
Yeah. What about, so a C grade from Adam on the defense thus far. What about you, Hall?
Yeah, I'll stick with what Adam said. Definitely, I'll give him a C. He hit perfectly on the head with the whole back end with the Apke thing. I think the more and more Fuller kind of kids come back off the injury, like he said before, I think that we'll see him kind of more and more kind of rotating that safety with next to Landon Collins, and have Jimmy Moreland, Darby, and Moreau as kind of like three cornerbacks. So I definitely give him a C. I think as the season goes along, that grade will improve as if Chase Young can get back into the lineup and stay into the lineup. You definitely hit on the head where these linebackers are kind of not a liability, but they're also not a strength right now.
Right.
And as long as this defensive line keeps getting pressure, keeps getting the push up the middle, and we can kind of contain the run game and the edges with Montez Sweat, Ryan Kerrigan, and Chase Young when healthy, I think that they'll stay around a C and keep doing enough to keep us in games and maybe possibly win some games. But like I said before, I think as they kind of gel more and the season goes along, they'll be playing at more of a B to B plus average.
Yeah, I have to give the Washington football team defense a B minus thus far. I think the offense has made them look worse than they are, but I can't give them a great grade because they have given up a bunch of big plays, which is with this defense, that's the one thing you can't do with this defense. The way that they play, when they get after the quarterback, you cannot give up big plays. When you keep everything in front of you, that's when you are at your absolute best. Right now, they're ranked 18th. In points, they're 18th, and then sacks, they're 3rd, interceptions 3rd, and then turnovers are 9th in the league right now. I think this is a team that is giving and playing very well. They're giving this offense a chance to win football games. It just seems like multiple pieces are firing, but not at the same time. It seems like in these games, we're waiting to see both systems firing at the same time, in my opinion. So I think a B minus. What about you, Reed?
That's exactly where I was going with it. I was going to say B minus, and a lot of it would be, I think, if the offense played a little bit better, and then the defense didn't have to be on the field as long. I think.
Can I cut you off real fast?
No.
But to go to your point, remember from like 2015-16 when the Cowboys led the league in rushing, their defense was actually the best in the league that year, and they weren't even that good. It was just how much time they were on the field. It wasn't that much, so their defense was better.
Right. Sorry. Yeah, exactly. And I also think that once Chase Young comes back, I think that the defensive line will be improved again. I mean, they're already the defensive line's not playing bad, even without Ioannidis and Chase Young. Kendall Fuller has been fantastic. I know it's only been 2 games, but I saw a stat where he's been targeted 5 times, has allowed 1 completion, and has 2 interceptions.
Yep.
So he's the 3rd highest graded cornerback in all of football right now. Again, that's only through 2 games. Landon Collins, of course, he has struggled a little bit. He leads the team in missed tackles with 6. We all know about Troy Apke, and you guys are right with the linebackers. There's nobody special. I mean, there's nobody out there tearing it up, but they're solid, but they also make some mistakes, and it gets a bit frustrating at times. But I'll go with B minus. I think that if the offense kept them off the field a little bit, then I think that they would be rated a little bit higher. And I also think that if the offense doesn't get it together, then the floodgates are going to open. It's going to be there. It's a bend, don't break thing right now, but once it breaks, it's going to be, oh shit.
All right.
And stop anybody.
Right. And before we get into our overall for the NFL, our top 10 power rankings, let's just talk about briefly, because from Burrows from the UK, our brother over there from the DC Tweet Team podcast, he wants to know, why is the NFC East division so bad? Reed, let's keep it with you.
How sad is it that the Eagles are in first place technically now, just because they tied a game once against the Bengals? I don't know. It's weird. The Cowboys, it's like you look at that offense. First of all, I've always said that I don't think Mike McCarthy was that good of a hire for them.
No.
I think he was overrated because of Aaron Rodgers. They should be using Zeke a lot more. Obviously, Dak is playing fantastic. Dak's playing awesome. When you have those 3 huge wide receivers like they do, you use them, and but they need to get the running game going a little bit more. That defense is atrocious. The Giants are just terrible all around. Daniel Jones' numbers are actually worse than Haskins this year, at least statistically. And then the Eagles, they're just so banged up. Like, that offensive line is so bad that it's just forcing Carson Wentz. Honestly, they're lucky Carson Wentz is as injury prone as he's been, hasn't been hurt yet, because that guy is just taking a beating back there. He's a good quarterback when he can stay healthy, but right now he's been under so much pressure. He's playing terrible. The Eagles, actually, I believe the Eagles lead the NFL in sacks, though.
Yes, they do.
Which is very odd. But, hey, it's a bad division right now. I still expect the Cowboys to end up winning it. I think that they're the most talented team. And maybe eventually it'll click. But if that defense keeps playing the way that it is, I mean, they're not going anywhere.
Yeah, and it's strictly, I think the reason why this division is so bad is because offensive line. Offensive lines across this NFC East has been dealt very bad injuries. Talk about Lyle Collins from the Cowboys has been out. Tyron Smith hasn't been practicing or hasn't been playing. Then look at the Eagles. They just lost Jason Peters. So I think it's the offensive line. That's the reason why this NFC East is so bad right now. They can't protect their quarterbacks, and they can't run the football effectively, obviously losing Saquon in New York. But then also, Jason Garrett is not that good. Mike McCarthy, not that good. To be frank with you guys, Doug Peterson is a good coordinator and a good coach. It's just they're injury riddled.
Isn't it funny, though, how the Cowboys went from for like the last 10 years, it's coaching. Once we get Garrett out of there, we'll be fine. And they bring in McCarthy. They have all these hopes that it's like, well, it's also coaching, but you guys just picked the wrong coach again. So
right. So what about you, Adam?
It's funny. Exactly. The offensive line, that's the main issue. The second issue is the back end. Every team, group of cornerbacks and safeties, just look across the board for every team. I think they're talking about the Cowboys, have some of the best up and comers, but right now they're giving up a ton of yards. The Eagles, they can't figure it out. Every time they draft a corner, they move on within a year or two.
It looks like they lost Slay too.
Yep. That's possible. I heard, that's up in the air. And, Baker was with the Giants. That was their top guy. He's gone. And, Washington, they're starting, in my opinion, they're not horrible. They just don't have an identity. I really think Moreland and Fuller are the two guys that are going to really rise from the group. I think the other guys can definitely be role players, but they have potential in those. But those two aspects, the offensive line and defensive backfield, that's what makes this division so bad. But what that leaves us is we can play really bad division games and win. So I think the matchups coming up are going to be huge. Every division game is huge every year. That's a cliche, of course, but whoever comes out with the most division wins, I think gets the division. And I think we could talking about 7 wins, 8 wins could probably take the East. No wild card is coming out this year, even though I think it's going to be an extra spot. It's not going to come out of the East. So it's going to be the division or go home. And, injuries are going to be huge, but the reason the Cowboys really have, I think, a leg up, I hate to say it on everyone else, is their offensive firepower. They can be down by 30 points, and, they have the type of talent that can come back. So if they keep that core healthy right now, they're going to be hard to stop. But I think Washington playing them, I think Chase Young going against Dak, I feel a lot better with that situation. So that's what I mean. If, Young, let him get healthy. If it's another week, we need him. That, to me, that's one of the bigger games coming up that he needs to be in. But I think that it's wide open, and I pitch my article again. I'll have that coming out this week. But it's really saying, some of the things that we're doing well and some of the things that we're, they're doing bad. But we can take both of those aspects and, look forward and have a chance, even if it's not this year, for, an opportunity to do something next year and not just, win 7-8 games. I think this is a team that if they continue to build through the draft like they've been doing, they have a chance. But right now, the East is wide open. And if the quarterback play continues with, garbage time yards and, all these interceptions, it's going to be really shit show kind of games, to be honest with you.
Absolutely. All right. So we are already at 50 minutes, but I want to do the power rankings. So let's do it. Let's do it very fast. Let's do a rapid fire kind of power rankings here. Let's start at number 10 at the top left this way. Hall, let's go to you. At number 10, who was your 10th ranked power team in the NFL right now?
Looking over the top, I wrote down the top 11 teams in the power rankings right now. As I scan over this list, I will go with.
You don't have it written down?
Yeah, I do. I'm just going over. I'll go with the number 10 team. Tough one, man. I'll go with New Orleans. I think that. Yeah, I think that.
I had New Orleans too.
I have New Orleans at 10 too.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that Drew Brees, he's not really falling off the cliff, but
let's let Hall take it.
Yeah, he's kind of hanging over the cliff right now. He's looking over the cliff like it's a long way down. But obviously with Kamara in the backfield, you're going to have mismatches all day. It seems that Drew Brees is kind of the dink and dunk kind of guy now, as he's been for the past 2 years. So guys like Michael Thomas, when he gets back healthy, Kamara with the dump offs and kind of those out routes out the backfield with the mismatches on the linebackers are going to keep that offense humming. So, in the defense, obviously, with Cam Jordan and guys like Malcolm Jenkins, Lattimore on the back end, always going to keep you in games. So, my number 10 team is the Saints.
Yeah, so I'll go with 9. You pick 8, Adam. Reed, you go to you pick 7, and then we'll just continue that way. So, at 9, I'm going to put the LA Rams. I think that this is a good team. They might have possibly just lost Jalen Ramsey for the Washington game, but I think that they are constructed well. They have a superstar corner. They have probably the best football player in the NFL, and Aaron Donald and the defensive line, and then Jared Goff with two good wide receivers. I think they fit in at 9. I just feel like the consistency level with them is why they're not top 5. I think back end to top 10 is where they fit at 9. So Adam, who do you have at number 8?
I have the Patriots. I think once Cam Newton comes back, he's going to be a man on the mission, and I think that they're going to do some big things. I don't think we're going to see them really go past the 8-7 rank. But for right now, that's why I have them 8, because I think that they can still do some good things with Bill B.
All right, what about you, Hole? Let's go to number 7.
Me.
Oh, sorry, Reed.
No, it's cool. I'm not here. No,
number
7.
It's
number
the
7,
emo hat.
I'm going to go with the Buccaneers. I'm going to go with Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay. They were getting destroyed early on by Justin Herbert, who, by the way, just goes to show what college experience does for a quarterback. Started 43 games at Oregon, comes into the NFL. He's already seen coverages. This guy can throw touchdowns. He can do it all. But I'm going to go with Tampa Bay. Tom Brady lit it up this past week. Their defense is playing very good. I think that Tampa Bay, they have so much firepower on offense, and their defense can play good enough that they're put them number 7.
Oh, that's a really good one. So, Hall, let's go to you for number 6.
Number 6, I have the Tennessee Titans. I think that Ryan Tannehill is really coming into his own with his offense and Arthur Smith. He's not looking like the Miami Dolphins Tannehill. He's looking like a pretty legit NFL quarterback, Ryan Tannehill. Obviously, Derrick Henry, last year's leading rusher in the backfield, always going to have the ground and pound game going. Mike Vrabel is a great coach, one of the only successful Bill Belichick kind of disciple guys to come off of his coaching tree. So yeah, I think that Tennessee, and obviously in a really pretty weak division with the AFC South, I think that they get into the playoffs and kind of make some noise like they did last year.
Absolutely. So instead of going down each by each here, let's all debate the last 5 teams of the power rankings. And so what I'm going to say is I'm going to say my team that I believe is the 5th best team in the NFL right now. And so you guys, 1 out of 5, 5 being completely agree, 1 being not agree at all. I have the Buffalo Bills at number 5.
I have the Buffalo Bills a little bit higher than that.
Okay.
I have the Bills at 3. I love what the Bills are doing. I love Josh Allen. I love their defense. Josh Allen's playing at a borderline MVP level right now. I have the Bills up at 3.
I have him at 4.
Okay, so right sandwiched in between.
I have you said the Buffalo Bills, right? I have them at number 4, actually. Yeah, I got number 4.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. Now, my 4 team I have as the Seattle Seahawks. I know that back end is putrid, but this offense is just so good. It doesn't matter who's playing running back. They just always seem to be able to win games because of their quarterback. I think Russell Wilson at 4 is a perfect spot for them. 1 to 5. Do you guys agree?
I have the Seahawks at 5, so that's right in the same area that I had them. I love what they're doing. Russell Wilson, MVP level again right now. I love what he's doing. And the defense, you're right, they're not playing that good, but it doesn't matter when your offense is playing like this.
Right.
I agree. Same with me.
Yep, same as me. I got him at 5 just because Russell Wilson's. I had him as my MVP going into the season. He's definitely played like it thus far. He's up there, maybe top 2, top 3 as far as votes in my opinion. But that defense is ranked 32 in the league, I think, overall as far as total defense.
Pass
goes.
defense, yeah.
Pass defense, yeah. So just like the Cowboys and these other kind of top passing teams, can't stop a nosebleed. So.
Right. And so let's move on to the top 3. I think we all probably have a top 3, but it's moved around a little bit. I had the Packers at number 3. And look, the reason why I have them over the Bills is strictly because of quarterback alone. I think that the Green Bay defense is really good and it's underrated. I think Jair Alexander stopped Calvin Ridley last night. He had no receptions. That defense is very underrated. I think the Packers are one of the best teams in the NFL. 1 to 5 agree.
5 agree. Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to say
definitely 5.
I'm going to say disagree because I have the Packers at number 1. I think the Packers are the best team in the NFL right now.
Fair enough.
They're playing awesome. That offense are averaging over 40 points a game. The defense is still scary. Darius Smith is still tearing it up. I like the Packers a lot.
Those running backs, man. Those running backs with them. Dylan is a guy I loved coming out of Boston College, and everyone coming that process a matter of 4th, 5th round. I said, no, this guy's going to go high. And he went 2nd with them. So right now, they're slowly getting him in. But when this team gets to the playoffs, that trio that they have, man, it doesn't matter if he has any name wide receivers. He finally has a bunch of backs that can, make up for the loss. So I think even though they didn't grab those receivers from him, overall, they gave him the rest of the weapons. I think that they could actually go to the Super Bowl. I think at this point I have them going against Kansas City. So I think it's relative where we're talking about 3-2-1 with them.
That'd be a great Super Bowl. Now, the last 2, I think that the Monday night proved what we all thought. The Chiefs at number 1 in my power rankings and the Ravens at number 2. Although I have the Ravens picked to win the Super Bowl this year, that's the way I see it right now. I think the Chiefs, their defense is just very underrated. They just seem to be able to get to the quarterback in pivotal situations. A lot of credit to them. I think they're the best team in the NFL right now until I see more of Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. I agree. I have my top 3 are the Chiefs. I have the Packers at number 2 just because I feel like they're probably the most balanced team behind the Chiefs as far as offense and defense goes. Mike Pettin has that defense humming in the 2nd or 3rd year that he's there. Like you just mentioned, Jair Alexander, Kevin King are great corners. They have a great back end. The Smith brothers are doing their thing. But, I have the Baltimore Ravens as my 3rd team just because I know the defense is good, but they haven't really showed me, enough to be that kind of balanced, full-on offense and defensive team all the way around. But I think they'll get there eventually. But right now, Aaron Rodgers playing out of his mind with basically nobody as the wide receiver core other than Devontae Adams. and
He's
he's
been
injured
out.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's injured too. So I mean, yeah, A-Rod's playing like vintage Aaron right now. So I got
no picks.
Too. Yeah.
Yeah, and if I would agree, I would put the Ravens at 1. If their running game was the same as last year, they cannot get that going, and it seems like Lamar is just doing everything at this point. All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for tuning in, and lots of thanks to Adam on short notice to be able to come on and to give us some great analysis on Antonio Gibson and be able to talk about this game. I really appreciate you coming on, sir.
Always a pleasure, my man.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. I'm Kyle.
I'm Hall, and don't forget, I'll be on the DC Tweet Team podcast tomorrow with our boy Andy. It's going to be all about the fans. It's a first episode about the fans and how you kind of became a Washington fan and kind of some stories behind that. So check that out tomorrow, guys.
Make sure we will.
Yeah, make sure you check that out. Absolutely.
And check me out, Burgundy and Gold Report.wordpress.com. Got a great article come out. The NFC East give us some fans hope that there's still some games to be played here.
Yeah, absolutely. And make sure you go follow Adam. Absolutely. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. Remember,
Kyle.
What?
I got you. I said absolutely twice before you could say it.
Oh, dude. Well, you're such a loser. All right, everybody.
Have a good night, guys.
All right, everybody. We'll see you guys. Make sure you go like and share us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, on iTunes Podcasts, Google Pods, YouTube, Google Pods, on everything. All right, everybody. We'll see you guys. Washington football. Woo! Washington football. Woo!
Kobe. Damn, man, I made it.
Audio Jungle.